Welcome to Let's Go Live. I'm Maddie.
Morning, I'm Greg, and all together now,
we are live!
I lost my voice then, did you hear?
No, I didn't. I was about to go into something. Sorry. It's all right. Thank you for joining us here. This is our live family science show. We like to shower you with mind-boggling science facts and drizzle in a couple of makes and activities into the show, don't we?
I see what you're doing there.
I tried to do anyway.
I see what you're trying to do there. Weather, isn't it? Yes, because this week Let's Go Live is being supported by the Met Office, the home of world-leading climate science. We are super chuffed to have them on board.
We are. Thank you so much. In our last show, we found out the difference between weather and climate, and we also talked about climate change and what's causing it. But if you didn't join our Tuesday show, not to worry, because we're going to do a bit of a recap in a minute.
Yeah, and then you can go back and watch it back whenever you like.
Yeah. Today we're going to be continuing our climate change conversation, and we're going to be thinking about how climate change is currently impacting our planet, but most importantly, what is it that we can all do to help tackle it and prepare for the future?
Yeah, we are looking forward to this one. We've also got a very special video to play you later on from an actual weather forecaster from the actual Met Office.
Not the meteorologist Maddie isn't a real weather forecaster.
Very true, very true. She was busy. So Alex Deakin has done us a very special weather forecast of the future.
Yeah, but before we get into that, lots of you weather watchers were inspired by yesterday's weather forecast and have decided to make your own. We have put a couple of them together into a little video. They're brilliant.
So good.
Here they are.
Hello, I am meteorologist Maddie, and welcome to my weather studio. Welcome to today's weather report. This morning is extremely snowy for this time of year, with snowmen appearing in many parts of the country. This was Minnie's weather report. Today's news, tomorrow's history. Bonjour, je m'appelle Esme. Ramassez et faire clouds, foggy, covering the whole sky. Cumulus nimbus. A lot of clouds and rain and snow. And who doesn't like a snow day, eh? Oh no, it's not good today. Storm everywhere. Watch out, because there's thunder and lightning. Oh, bye.
Thank you
Brilliant.
so much for those.
Brilliant.
We're also going to show a bunch of your weather makes and activities a little bit later on in the show as well.
Why don't we start with a little climate change recap to bring us all up to speed.
Okay, but you know what though? I think that we could all do this as a quiz.
As a quiz, you say?
Hey! That's it, everyone. We haven't done the quiz music in a while, so get dancing. Quiz, music.
Oh, we're going.
Yeah, I'm going like jivey.
Okay. Hope we had a little boogie. Do you want more? Okay.
No.
I feel like I cut you off mid sweat. Okay,
No,
cool.
it's fine. I'm just getting into a little dance routine, but it's
Right.
okay. Okay, if you are watching live, play along, put your answers in the live chat. If you're watching back later, maybe shout them out at your screens. This is going to be a sort of multiple choice quiz.
Yes, we're going to give you a few different options. The way it's going to work is this. You're going to choose the word to fill in the blank. Let's go.
Okay, all right. Question 1. In our last show, we learned that the Earth's climate has blank. So, has the Earth's climate always stayed constant? Has it always been heating up? Or has it always been changing? So, in our last show, we learned that the Earth's climate has A, stayed constant, B, always heated up, or C, always been changing.
The answer is C. It has always been changing.
Yeah, for millions and millions of years, the Earth's climate has been getting hotter, then colder, hotter, then colder.
But question 2, over the past couple of 100 years, our climate has been blank. Is it A, cooling down quicker than before? Is it B, heating up quicker than before? Or is it C, staying the same? Over the past couple of 100 years, our climate has been. The answer is
B. So our climate, over the past couple of years, our 100 years, our climate has been getting hotter much quicker than before.
yes.
But the question is, why is that? Why is it heating up quicker than before now? So question 3, Earth's climate has been heating up much quicker than before because A, because of volcanoes, B, because of the sun, or C, because of human activity. Earth's climate has been heating up much quicker than before because of, what is it? Answer is C, human activity. The sun and volcanoes have definitely played a role in climate change throughout history, but they aren't the main reason for climate change now.
No. Question 4 is this. 200-ish years ago, in the 1800s, we started doing something that led to this uncontrolled climate change. What did we start doing a couple of 100 years ago in the 1800s? Did we start building greenhouses, burning fossil fuels, or making weather records? What did we start doing in the 1800s that's led to this uncontrolled climate change?
A, B, or C? The answer is B.
Burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas.
Yeah.
We call them fossil fuels because they're the remains of dead plants and dead animals and dead sea creatures like prehistoric plankton.
Yeah, dinosaurs. Okay, so question 5. Burning fossil fuels produces gases such as carbon dioxide. But what general name do we give these gases? Is that A, hot blanket gases, B, shed gases, or C, greenhouse gases? What do you think? So what name do we give these gases such as carbon dioxide?
The answer is
Greenhouse gases.
Yes.
We call them greenhouse gases because they go up into our atmosphere, the layers of air above us, and they trap heat in a similar way to the walls of a greenhouse.
Final question. One last one.
Yep.
Question number 6. Here it comes. What else is causing this rapid climate change? Is it A, deforestation, cutting down trees? Is it B, farming animals, farming the food that we feed to the animals? Or is it C, transportation like big ships and aeroplanes? What is causing this rapid climate change?
The answer is
All of them.
Absolutely all of them.
Yeah.
So well done, and thank you so much for playing along. Let us know how you did in the live chat. Today's show is all about the this effect that we call the greenhouse effect, and that's due to global warming. And it is warming our planet faster, and climate change is having. Hang on, I've got myself all in a twist here. Let's start again. So today's show is all about the effect this global warming is having, and what it is we can do about it.
It's serious business, it really is. But you are all climates. Get it? Friends of the climate, climates.
Yeah.
Climates.
See what you did there?
Yeah.
Climates.
Tell you it's going to stick.
All right. So how did you do? How did they do in the live chat?
All right, in the live chat, we have got well done to Joanna and Phoebe and Daniel.
Well done.
Olivia, Jonah, Ruby.
Yeah.
Emily, Serene, Eleanor, Ryan, Jesse, Charlie.
Brilliant.
Lots of you loud and correct in the live chat.
Thank you so much for playing along. understanding climate change, talking about it and sharing what we know is something we can all do to help and make a difference.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So we have said that global warming leads to climate change,
Yeah.
changes in our climate. But what does that actually mean? Does it just mean that it's getting a little bit warmer everywhere?
Well, you would be forgiven if you thought that maybe that would be a nice thing. You know, a less cold winter, a slightly warmer summer. But to see the impact of this quick climate change, we actually have to look at the bigger picture. And sadly, a warming planet isn't good news.
No. So let's take a look at some of the effects of climate change. Sometimes this stuff isn't very easy to talk about, but it's super important to discuss these things so that we can understand them better.
Right. We're going to be exploring 4 big impacts of this increased climate change, starting first with heat waves.
Yes.
There you go.
As the planet warms, heat waves become more likely. Now, again, you might think that if it got a little bit hotter in the UK, that would be great. But the problem with heat waves is that they can be really dangerous in places that are already really hot, like Australia.
So high temperatures, they can lead to a lack of water, and we call this a drought, which can make it tough to grow food in some parts of the world. And extremely high temperatures, they can lead to forest fires too. So we're now going to move on to the second big impact of this fast climate change, and that is rising sea levels. The oceans are our partners when it comes to climate change.
They're our ultimate climates.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, oceans.
Well, the oceans, they absorb 90% of the extra heat that is made by us. However, when water heats up, it expands, it takes up more space, and that causes the height of the sea level, to rise.
Yeah.
And rising sea levels, they can cause problems for lots of people around the world because it can lead to flooding.
Yeah. Not only does the ocean absorb a lot of that heat, right, as our ultimate climate, but it also absorbs some of the carbon dioxide that's released into the air when we burn fossil fuels. Anything that gets rid of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, from the air, that's great. So thank you, oceans, for doing that. But the problem is when the oceans absorb some of that carbon dioxide that's up in the atmosphere, it actually changes the water of the ocean. We say it makes it a little bit more acidic or a bit more sour. And this ocean acidification, that is our third big impact of climate change.
Yeah, ocean acidification isn't a good thing because a more acidic ocean harms marine life like coral and plankton, and both of those really important parts of a food chain. So we spoke a little bit more about ocean acidification back in Oceans Week when we spoke with a marine biologist who is studying this. So we've left a little link in the description below if you want to go back and watch that.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, our fourth and final effect of this quicker climate change.
Yeah, so this is something that happens at the top and the bottom of the planet at the North and South Pole. The poles warm up more quickly than other places, and that means that these enormous sheets of ice at the pole are melting as temperatures rise.
We call them the ice caps. They are big chunks of ice. Now, they normally look white like this, right? They're great at reflecting some of the sun's heat back away from the planet. But as they melt, you can see these darker patches. That's just water. Because water is darker, it doesn't reflect that light as well, that heat away as well. In fact, it absorbs some of the heat, and that then causes more of the ice to melt.
Yeah, the ice in the Arctic is melting fast, and this is causing big problems for animals like polar bears, because the polar bears, they rely on the ice to hunt for their food. But if we don't reduce our greenhouse gases soon, then there is an increased chance of ice-free summers, so no ice at all, in the Arctic as soon as 2050.
Okay, so those are the 4 big impacts of this increased climate change. It's pretty clear that it's going to create different problems in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Global warming, increased climate change, it will affect all of us in different ways, but it will affect all of us.
Yeah. Here's something to think about as well. the countries that tend to burn the most fossil fuels and produce the most greenhouse gases are often the countries that have the most money and the most technology. So because they have this stuff, they have lots of resources, they will feel the effect of increased climate change the least, because they have the things to deal with it. But that means it's the countries with less money and less technology who are usually producing less greenhouse gases that will feel the impacts more.
Such a good point. As we said earlier, it can be hard to talk about this sort of stuff. It can be hard to think about this sort of stuff because it makes the lives of people and animals harder around the world. But that's exactly why it is really super important to talk about this sort of stuff. And if we know what's happening, if we understand it, then we can look at what we can do to help.
Yeah. The good news is that scientists have been studying climate change for a long time. And because of that, we now understand why it's happening and how climate change might affect us. And this puts us in a really good position to do something about it.
Yeah, so weather scientists or meteorologists, the term we learned when meteorologist Maddie came to visit us earlier in the week. So they have been able to actually look into the future and see how the climate could change thanks to some seriously cool technology.
Very cool technology. There are hundreds and thousands of weather stations all over the world. Just look at the UK here. Every one of those little dots is a weather station. One of them might even look a little bit like this. Lots of amazing instruments that record what's going on in the atmosphere. Meteorologists, they can take all of this data, all of that information from these weather stations, and they can feed it into a computer. A really powerful computer called a supercomputer. They can crunch all of that data and they can produce some pretty accurate models of the climate.
What is super awesome is that the Met Office actually have one of the most powerful supercomputers in the world dedicated to weather and climate. Check this out. This is the team assembling the crepe XC40, which every day takes in 215 billion weather readings from stations all over the world.
And it can do over 14,000 trillion maths problems every second.
Okay, I can't even imagine what 14,000 trillion maths problems every second is, but I know that it definitely deserves a fact bomb.
Whoa, that's unbelievable. But it's thanks to supercomputers like that, meteorologists are able to forecast the weather and let us know what kind of clothes we might need to wear for the week ahead.
But they can also use all that information to forecast what the climate might be like, not just days or weeks ahead, but maybe a year or tens of years into the future.
Yeah. The meteorologists and weather reporters at the Met Office have done just that, and they've created a future weather forecast for us.
Sometimes we think of climate change as something that's happening somewhere else, right? It's just happening somewhere else. But as we've discovered, it really is a global problem.
Yeah.
It is affecting everyone, everywhere.
So what could our climate look like in 30 years' time? Well, to answer that, we're going to head over to Alex at the Met Office.
Hello, it's Friday, the 22nd of July, 2050. And it's been another extremely hot day across the UK. Today it was 32 Celsius in Belfast, 36 in Glasgow, and widely from Southampton up to Birmingham, we exceeded 40 Celsius. Top temperature 43 degrees in Worcester. It's hard to believe that back in 2021, when meteorologists Maddie and Drizzly Dave were doing this job, we'd never recorded 40 degrees in the UK. On to tonight, and even with your windows open, it's going to be uncomfortable for sleeping tonight, with temperatures staying above 20 degrees from Glasgow all the way down to London. It's very warm. We call this a tropical night, and we've had a lot of these recently. As for tomorrow, well, temperatures will quickly rise again, more than 37 degrees in southern Scotland, and for much of England and Wales, Again, we'll see those temperatures over 40 Celsius. The highest temperatures probably Somerset, Dorset, Wiltshire way, where we could see highs of 43 to 45 Celsius. So make sure you drink plenty of water and try and stay cool. It may be too hot to play outside in the middle of the day. However, as we start next week, cooler air finally arrives from the north, with temperatures dropping back into the mid-20s during Monday and Tuesday. That's the way the weather's looking. It's back to you, Maddie and Greg.
Thank you so much, Alex. How cool is that for you to have that? That's amazing. But
yeah, cool but not cool.
Cool, but definitely not cool. Hot.
Yeah.
Very hot. And, that is not a real weather forecast, okay?
No.
It is a possible future based on what we know about how the Earth's climate works. And that shows us what the weather could really be like in the summer of the year 2050 if we don't reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that we're putting up into the atmosphere.
So this isn't what our future definitely will be, but this is a version of what the weather could look like in 2050 in the UK if things don't change at all. The actual level of climate change that we experience will depend on how quickly we can reduce those levels of carbon dioxide.
Yes. So we can't stop the climate from continuing to change, but we can make the size and the impact of the changes and those impacts smaller.
So I think it's time that we all thought about what is it that we can do to help.
Yeah.
Now look, we all know that it's easy sometimes when it comes to this subject to feel a little bit helpless because you're just one person and this is a planet-sized problem. But if you do something and I do something and you do something and we all do something, then we can help.
Yeah.
Right?
You are not alone,
No.
right? People all over the planet are looking at ways that we can make this change. They want to change how much energy we're using and where we're getting that energy from.
Yeah.
They want to change how much of this greenhouse gas is going up into the atmosphere.
So how can we do that? Well, we are still going to need energy to power our lives.
Yeah.
We just need to reduce the amount of energy that we get from burning fossil fuels. But thankfully, we do have some cleaner, greener alternatives because we can now harness the energy that comes from renewable sources like the sun and the wind. We call them renewable because these sources of energy won't run out. They renew themselves. But we can also switch to
greener energy providers that actually provide and support these renewable sources.
Another big way of reducing the amount of fossil fuel being used is to possibly switch from cars that use petrol and diesel, these are fossil fuels, to cars that run using electricity. Even better if you can charge the cars with electricity that come from the renewable sources in the first place.
Big companies all around the world are making these switches, right? And we can now see this happening closer to home too. Maybe you've been out on a walk and you've seen solar panels on the top of a building. That's what they're doing.
Switching to solar panels or an electric car, that's not something that we can just do with the click of a finger because these things cost money and the decisions about this sort of stuff will depend on where you live. But as we get further into the future, these types of clean energy will become cheaper and much easier to get hold of.
Yeah, absolutely. Grown-ups and people in power all over the world have been getting together and they've made a promise. They've made a promise to limit this global warming, right? The amount of increase in heat that we see across the planet by well below 2 degrees, ideally 1.5 degrees.
Yeah, 1.5 degrees, that's quite an important number because it's a little bit like a turning point. So if the climate warms up more than 1.5 degrees, it's going to become much more difficult to tackle the impacts of the changing climate beyond that.
Yeah. But there are some people who think that the grown-ups and the politicians in charge are not doing enough to keep that promise, to hit that target. And these people are serious about the problem, so they're speaking up to make their voices heard. Have a watch of this. This is a climate march in 2009, hundreds, thousands,
19.
2019, hundreds, thousands of people across the globe, some of them your age, they gathered together, they marched against increased climate change. They wanted to let governments know how they feel.
Yeah, it's well, they want the government to act quicker and stronger if we're going to keep global warming below that important 1.5 degrees.
Yeah.
They want to see governments moving away from fossil fuels and turning to clean energy quickly.
Sadly, not everyone agrees on climate change, but these young people are making sure that they're being heard and they are being listened to.
Mm-hmm.
The marches are in the news, which means more people get to hear about it. They hear about these impacts of increased climate change. They hear that more people want to help and more conversations are happening.
Not everyone wants to or can take part in a climate march, and that's absolutely fine. But, learning about the facts and taking an interest in our climate is a really good way to start a conversation about it. And we've said quite a few times that just talking about it is a fantastic way to sort of make a difference. And it doesn't matter how old you are. If this is something you care about, then it's important that you talk about it with a grown-up.
Yeah. This week, we are showing you how to make your own recycled bottle weather station at home. Because taking interest in the weather, in meteorology, is a great way to get those conversations going at home.
In our last show, we showed you how to make a rain gauge from a recycled bottle. Well, today, we're going to make a windsock.
You challenged me to make a windsock.
I did.
It took me a really long time.
Did it?
Here it is.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, okay. That's an interesting windsock, Greg.
It's a sock, right?
Yeah.
And it shows you which way the wind's blowing.
Well,
it's a wind sock.
I don't think you should blow that sock in my direction, thanks.
Nailed it.
I think you wore that one yesterday.
It might have been the one I wore yesterday. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so I mean that's not bad. It's kind of like a windsock. Usually though, a windsock is some sort of lightweight ring or a cylinder with some material attached to it in sort of like a tube shape. We do often see them at airports and they look a bit more like this, less of a sock on a stick. But when the wind blows, the sock will tell us the direction the wind is blowing in, whether that's north, east, south or west.
Okay, all right. I don't know if you did this, but north, east, south, west. Never eat shredded wheat.
That's what I learnt as well.
Yeah.
North, Is
this the way some of you watching remember north, south, east? Never eat shredded wheat?
Never eat shredded wheat.
The thing is, shredded wheat is great.
I like shredded wheat.
So we need to come up with something else.
Never
If you can think of something, let us know. If you're in the live chat, let us know.
SW.
Never eat
soggy
worms. Never eat soggy worms. It's true.
Never.
Okay, all right.
Never eat soggy worms.
So hang on. So if the wind blows from the east to the west.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like
the
that.
sock. Hang on. There we go. Let's do that instead.
Okay.
That's better. He did wear this yesterday. Yeah, so if the sock is blowing in this direction towards the west, then we know that the wind is coming from the east.
Yes.
Because it's blowing that way.
Yes,
Blowing
perfect.
through the sock.
Okay, how could this lot make a better windsock than this?
Well, I had a go at making one yesterday. And, I mean, yours looks more like a sock than my one, but this one does work pretty well. Go on.
Looks like a jellyfish.
Give it a blow and you'll see what happens. Nice. See?
That's good.
It's great,
Wind coming
isn't it?
from the east. Yeah, okay, right. How do we make it?
You only need a few simple materials to make a windsock. If we just put that there, and I'll get all of our materials out.
All right, here we go. Let's have a look on the top down.
Well, here we go. So you might remember that when we made our rain gauge, I'm just going to move it out a little bit, we used a recycled bottle like this one. Well, the great thing about this windsock is that you can use the same bottle. If you just trim the top of it like this, you might even be able to trim your rain gauge, then you will get this. It's sort of just like a plastic ring, and that's all you need. A lightweight ring. It doesn't have to be plastic. It could be bamboo, or you might even want to make one out of cardboard if you want to. So the first step is going to be to make 2 holes on each side of the plastic ring. So I used a hole punch. So I've got 1 hole there and 1 hole there. and then I've tied some string through this hole, and I'm going to put another piece of string through this other hole here, like that. Just tie it off. Oh no, I'm not, because that's going to tie it to.
I love that.
Tie it to the ball of string. I don't want to do that.
I love that we can modify the rain gauge with the recycled plastic bottle from our first show. That's brilliant.
Yeah, good, right? So I'm just going to tie this in a little knot, so then we've got some way of hanging up our windsock. So
Got it? Okay, and what do we attach to it?
Well, we have used this. It's a type of plastic bag, but you don't have to use a plastic bag. Or you might have a bin bag, or you might have a plastic bag from years ago that you haven't used.
Mm-hmm.
You could use paper. As long as it's a flowy material and it's lightweight, then that will absolutely work.
We've got a degradable bag, but like an old recycled plastic bag would be a good one.
Exactly. I've cut the plastic bag into some strips like this, and then the simplest thing to do is you just put it around like that and just tie it in a knot.
Easy.
And that's it. So that's it. So that's one. You can see that's done there. I can do another one just to show you on the opposite side. I've tried to sort of make it so that these strips of plastic are even the whole way round. But yeah, I did 8 in total.
Here is a picture of it complete.
There we are.
And you can hang it up outside.
Yeah.
And it looks... No.
It doesn't look anything like that, sadly.
No, that's the original Windsock. It looks like this.
And there it goes. We took a little video of it as well, so you could see it in action.
Here it is.
You got the windsock blowing in the wind.
There it is, and...
Nice.
It was really windy, wasn't it?
It was. We actually used a compass, an app on a phone.
Yeah.
You might have an actual compass at home. Just ask a grown-up to help. And that way you can find out where you live, which way is north, south, east and west.
Yeah.
And we worked out that the wind was blowing from...
The south.
The south,
southeast.
Yeah. And that's where, because the windsock was going in the opposite direction. Yeah,
so have a go at making a windsock. Why not? Work out the direction it's coming from. Does that direction change throughout the day? Record it in your weather diary.
Oh yeah, our friend Rory and Doug, they actually made a slightly different type of wind instrument to record the wind. They made a weather vane.
So
Take a look at this.
Brilliant.
So if you want to give that one a go, if you want to make a weather vane in a bottle, then just take a look at the link that we've put in the description box below, because we found this one on the Met Office's website.
Now, here is something very, very cool. All right, this is amazing. Once you've got a working weather station, you can then, you can observe the weather, and then you can record your data, and you can then pass your observations onto the actual Met Office, right, who will take your data, use your data for actual science.
That is very
super cool.
We're going to show you the website that you can do this on. This is the Met Office's observation weather website, the weather observation website, also known as Wow! And this is where anybody around the world can put in the weather they've recorded. So first of all, you find your location, that's where you live or where your wind vane or your rain gauge is. And then you can put in your observation. So you might even want to include a little picture. You could put a picture of your rain gauge or your windsock, and you could write down a few details like how much rain has there been or which way is the wind blowing.
Am I allowed to suggest do an awkward selfie with like your rain gauge?
Yeah, that would be great.
Should we do an awkward selfie now?
Yeah, I would love the Met Office to suddenly get loads of awkward selfies with
from
rain
the Let's Go Live lot.
Rain gauges and windsocks.
With your weather data. That'd be super cool. Should we do a quick awkward selfie?
Yeah, let's
All right,
do
let's
it.
do an awkward selfie.
Do you want the windsock?
I guess.
Your windsock or my... Take both.
I'll take both. Otherwise it's me holding up a sock and a stick. Okay, all right.
Here we go. Let's do it for the meteorologist, everybody. With our instruments.
It's the awkward selfie. I don't know, I always do a little song afterwards. Anyway, look, if you've taken a picture with us for the awkward selfie, please do share it on the social medias.
Yeah.
At Maddie, at Greg Foot, and you've also got Met Office Science there as well. Thanks so much.
Great. It's fine that you do a little awkward song because it's meant to be awkward.
That's
so
true.
It's fine.
It's very awkward. Some quick messages from the live chat for the NE North, East, South, West.
Oh, yeah. What did we have? Never eat soggy worms.
We've got never eat soggy wellies.
No, don't do that.
Never eat soggy Weetabix. Quite like mine soggy. Never eat soggy waffles.
Oh,
and lots of you saying naughty elephant spray water.
I forgot about that one.
Oh, is that the other way that it's?
Yeah,
I have never heard that one.
Wow.
Super cool.
Thanks
Well
for
done,
the
you lot.
reminder.
Well done.
By the
you
way,
lot.
the brilliant thing about putting in your data into the WOW website is that it does actually get used by meteorologists. So by taking an interest in the weather, in the climate, you could really be helping genuine science. So that's pretty awesome.
Okay, right. So we now know about clean energy.
Yeah,
We know that our voices can be used to talk about climate change at home.
Yes, and we know that we can observe weather to help our scientists. But what else can we do?
Well, we have spoken to a brilliant scientist who has an incredible job in climate science.
Dr. Rosie Oakes has been on lots of adventures around the world to help people prepare for climate change. But she also had some top tips for all of us too. Here's what happened when we had a little chat. Rosie, hi! Thanks for joining us.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Really excited to chat to you. Can you start by just telling us what you do?
Yeah, so I work at the Met Office as an international climate services scientist. And that means I travel around the world and talk to people about how they can prepare for future climate change.
Okay, so can you give us some examples of how you're helping people?
Yeah, so if you think about in the future, the climate might change. So if you're a farmer, for example, the crops that you grow now might not grow so well in the future. So we work with people like farmers to think about how future climate might change. So if there's going to be less rain in the future, we might help them think about how they could build irrigation, so a watering system, or maybe plant a different type of crop that would be more resilient to the climate of the future.
So a type of plant that might be able to handle having less water.
That's amazing. So you get to combine the science and the predictions and the forecasting with conversations and travel. You get to travel around and meet people and help them solve these future problems.
Yeah, so that's the most interesting part for me. I really am interested in climate change and how all that works from a science perspective. But the most interesting thing is how we can use that information to help people prepare for the future. And it's great. I meet people from all around the world. So we're working at the moment in China and in Nepal. And I just had a meeting this morning with somebody from Hungary. So I'm really enjoying meeting different people and learning about the cultures while helping them prepare for future climate.
Rosie, do you have a top adventure that you've been on?
Yeah, so I did some research before this, which was more, research focused on climate change. And I got to go to the Southern Ocean to look for plankton. So we took a boat from the bottom of South America out into the ocean towards Antarctica. And there were big waves and we saw icebergs. I was a little worried about that. I had to go. I was like, do you think they've seen the iceberg? It turns out people driving boats in the Southern Ocean, they've seen the icebergs. So that was really fascinating. And we were collecting plankton there because we were worried about how they would be handling the changing ocean chemistry, which is linked to climate change.
Gosh, fascinating.
Yeah, definitely.
How cool is that?
Your job in climate science is so exciting and definitely a career I can imagine that lots of our Let's Go Live audience might even think about themselves.
Yeah.
But what can our audience do right now at home that can help make a difference?
Yeah, that's a good question. Climate change can feel like a really big problem, and it's difficult sometimes to know where to start in terms of taking action. So some things that I really like to do are just at home, turn the light off when you walk out of the room. That's a really good habit to get into. And then I also like to cycle or walk to the shops. Now, this reduces how much carbon dioxide you emit. So it's less than if you take the car, but it also makes you fit and healthy and it gets you outside and seeing some nature. And I also really like to go, when I go to the supermarket, I try and look at where the different food comes from. And I try and pick stuff that's been grown locally and is in season. So, for example, in the UK, it's great to eat potatoes and carrots at this time of year. And then when the summer comes around, we can eat our strawberries, which are grown locally. So I try and do that so that I'm not increasing my carbon footprint by eating all of this food that's been flown in from really far away.
There's nothing better than a strawberry in summer.
Oh,
it's
way tastier.
Yeah.
If it's grown seasonally and locally, it is way tastier and better for the environment. Okay, so turn the lights off when you're not using them.
Yeah.
Pedal rather than cars.
Pedal power.
Look at what you eat, and it just your job sounds amazing because it combines that science and science adventures and people. It just sounds like that wonderful combination. And there are loads of opportunities in climate science, right?
Yeah, so I love this kind of work. So I'm a big problem solver. So that's why I've done all of this science research. I love to get faced with a problem and then try and use science to work it out. But the great thing about this job is that it uses science, but it also involves talking to people about how they can make a difference in their life and for their community. And I think that's really important when we think about climate change. Everybody around the world will need to make changes to make sure that they're ready for future climate. But the changes that people make will be different in every single part around the world. And every single one of your listeners can make their own change in their own homes. But those changes might be different. And it will be really interesting to hear what everybody does to make a change to help with the future climate change.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie. That was
awesome.
very inspirational.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Wow. How cool is Dr. Rosie? She's very, very cool.
Yeah.
I wonder, have you ever thought about a job in climate science? When I was younger, that was not something I considered. But
No.
sort of listening to Rosie and finding out that you can, will go on adventures, but also help people and solve problems. That's a cool job.
Super
Yeah.
cool. Wowzers, we have covered a lot in this show.
Yeah.
We've recapped what climate change is, what's causing it to speed up. We looked at how it will affect everything around us, around the world and in the UK. And most importantly, we've discussed what we can do to try to help.
Yeah. Nice work, Climates.
I knew it would catch on.
Climates.
Climates, it's a thing.
I feel like it should be. I feel like, I'm going to give that one to you, Climates. All right, then.
And some of you have already been getting involved, of course. You've been trying some of these activities at home. Here, should we have a look at a few more of them? Yeah, squeeze in a few more.
Here are a bunch of the makes you've been doing this week, starting with Benjamin. Benjamin has made a climate capsule wardrobe fit for the UK in every single season, looking super smart there. And he also made a rain gauge with some recycling.
We've got Sam and Ollie here who found a tree stump to examine, and then they took close-up pictures so they could compare them together when they got home.
Yeah,
Nice.
that climate capsule there. We have here Raina. Raina made a rain gauge to put outside. Might be the only time she's ever wished for rain.
Here's Seb, Sunny Seb, the meteorologist, with his rain gauge, his thermometer, his weather map, and an anemometer, which measures wind speed as well as direction.
Nice work.
Nice.
Amelie and Eloise, they have made a rain gauge together to measure the rainfall in their garden.
And last up, William and Robbie walked to this tree in their village to look at its tree rings. It had to be cut down after it was weakened by a storm. They counted more than 40 rings, so they know it's over 40 years or 40 years old. They spotted thin rings, wider rings. Good job.
Yeah, because that's what we found out in our last show, that you can sort of see what the climate might have been like depending on the ring. Anyway, remember now that we also have a website
We do.
which is packed with activities from the first 5 weeks of Let's Go Lives. There are lots more Earth Science activities to find there.
Have a look through, click on Project Earth, and you'll get all of these Earth Science related activities to have a go at.
Thank you again to the Met Office for being such a huge support this week. And we'd just like to say a very special thank you to Ross, Felicity, to Doug and Rory, Aidan and Alex, who you saw on today's weather forecast, and of course to Dr. Rosie Oakes for having a chat with us. Yay! Thanks, everyone!
Thank you lot so much. It's been great to work with you. Before we say goodbye, and before we wish some of you lot happy birthday as well, it's time to reveal our next theme. What are we doing next week?
Well, next week we are returning to an old theme, and that is Brilliant Bodies. And we're going to be bringing you 2 very special shows.
Yeah, on Tuesday, we're going to find out about the immune system. So we're going to be asking what makes us sick, and we're going to be discovering what helps our bodies to get better.
Yeah, and on Thursday, we're going to learn about vaccines. What is a vaccine and how do they work?
This was another hugely requested topic from you and the Let's Go Live grown-up squad. So thank you all so much for the suggestions. It's on the way next week.
It is. Let's do some birthdays. Loads of birthdays to get through today. Starting up with Kian, who turned 7 yesterday.
We've got a few for today as well.
Yeah.
Evie is 9 today. Happy
Happy
birthday.
And Liberty is 8 years old today.
And also
Happy birthday.
Maisha turns 11 today as well.
Woo!
That's
Happy
for all of
birthday.
the todays and yesterdays.
But also, there's one big party this weekend because there are lots of birthdays happening. Firstly, Amelie would love to wish one of her best friends, Lana, a happy 6th birthday for Saturday.
Nice. Olivia is 6 on Friday and Jessie is 5 on Friday.
Henry is 6 on Saturday and Zoe is 7 on Saturday.
Anna is 1 on Saturday.
And Otto is 8 on Sunday. Oh, 1-year-old, maybe our youngest viewer.
I
Happy
think
birthday
so.
to all of you and to those of you who'll be having birthdays at the weekend.
If you've been watching this back today, thank you so much for watching. Nice one. We're going to say goodbyes to those of you who are joining us live.
All right.
Goodbye to Felicity in Isleworth.
Goodbye to Seren and Bethan in Surrey.
We've got Joseph, Hannah and Charlotte in Oxted.
Goodbye to Kit and Tally in Leeds.
We've got Flynn and Cole near Liverpool.
Goodbye, Amy in Winchester.
We've got Thomas and his daddy in Milton Keynes.
Goodbye to Eliza and Jasper.
We've got Sarah and Talita, who I think are in Liverpool.
Goodbye to Kalina and Eric.
Bianca, Samuel and Lee.
And then a bunch of names. Thanks to Raina, to Phoebe, George, Ashley, Finley, Lucy, Malik, James, Serene, Emily and Zoe. Goodbye to all of you as well.
You read them today?
Yeah, I know. I had to lean over, but I got there.
Right, that's it from us. If you haven't yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, click subscribe and then you'll get a little notification whenever we do a little video. There's also another channel, which is the Let's Go Live Activities
Yeah, so
channel.
you'll find all of the individual activities we've done, but maybe you can find that on
You can
YouTube.
find that one. You can find one. Subscribe to
Anyway, we will see you on Tuesday with our
Yes.
show all about the immune system. But until then, stay curious.
Bye.
Bye.